one waiting. So hopefully everything is starting. It should be nice now. And so tell me if you see me and everything. My OBS say go live somehow, but I think I'm live because I see myself live on the YouTube console. So I should be live. You can also join as usual. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to do that, which is going to be awesome. We're going to implement our sampling, MCP sampling in our client implementation. So that is going to be pretty cool. And if I can do that here, one thing I'm going to do on this one, on this series, and I extended the usually is plus 48 hours, public, but I extended all of this MCP business until June 16 because they're actually very long. Some people really like to look at them. So if you are subscribed to live stream, you have them indefinitely in all the archive. But rather to do 48 hours, I just put it a couple of weeks, 1 week and a half or whatever, and then you can check it there. So that is the thing. Now, if you are a member of the early adopters, sometimes you get early videos and so on, and support and members. If you want anything to be public for a little while, you ping me and then I will put it public. So that will be one of the perks of the early the support members. And then the live stream always have everything permanent. So that is the way that we're going to organize the things. So today here, the cool thing is we're going to do this guy over there. And I'm going to go back to that. And then this will be in our Agentic crate. So that is our goal. You can join that meeting as well during the live stream, obviously, with that URL that I'm going to put on the chat. So if you want to join live, you should be able to do it. And then I need to make sure that I see the windows, the chat there. There's always a little setup here. So if you join, I will see you live like this, so you can follow live. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do that implementation of the sampling, which is going to continue to do what we did yesterday with the test. And so I'm going to do the thing. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Gede, hello, Jamie. Hey, I am a French developer. I like Rust. That's good. And this is going to be a pretty advanced. I'm going to try to, in my little thumbnail here, to have some sort of levels, such as you can see the level of the videos. This one is going to be a pretty advanced one. So we're going to kind of dig in pretty deep. But if you're interested in MCP and all these kind of things, it's super interesting. So what we're going to do is what we have today is we already have this Agentic crate. So I have few crates. I have many crates, but I have few crates in AI that I'm maintaining. One, which is a more production one in a way. So let me go there. And that is the GenAI crate. So this one is the one I use for AI Pack and everything. So that is kind of production ready in a way. And what it supports, I try to support it well. And then it do this multi-AI kind of thing. So it normalizes all the APIs, but it uses some of the time the native protocols, such as you can, for example, with Gemini, you can set the thinking budget, not only a high, medium, low, but 0 or any number you want. So it's very powerful. So that is a pretty cool crate. And one that I'm creating now, I'm creating it live in a way, is that, I already did quite a bit of work, but is this one, which is the Agentic crate. And the goal of the Agentic crate is, it's a utility, it's a library that will allow you to embed MCP and A2A eventually, but right now we're going to do MCP in your application, in your server, in anything you want. So that is a goal here in Rust. And so this is what we're implementing right now, which is that guy. Now, the goal of these things is the way I design it is very ergonomic. So Rust is very powerful, but the generic types, and it could be sometimes overwhelming for people. And also, if you are really trying to be dogmatic with Rust and having the people doing into or send the right types and everything, send the concrete type. It can get, the APIs can get very verbose and kind of impact code clarity. In programming, code clarity is quality is a factor of code clarity. So what we want is to have an API which is fully typed, obviously, because otherwise, we can code Python or whatever. But that is also very ergonomic. So if you see the API here, we create a client, and then we create a transport with the new thing. So that is a stdio transport, and then we connect. And that is actually a transport config. And then we connect, and then we send this kind of params like that, and we get a type response. So there's a lot of things. So if you go to example, there's a lot of thoughts into doing this ergonomic API. So usually the C01 that I have is the one that I have in the README. And so we can see, we create the client, we create the transport config. So that will be a transport config, Command U. I have that to toggle the inlays. And then we connect. And so the connect here, you can see that I'm taking a generic, which is an into client transport. And then the into client transport is not something that the developer code, the user of the creates code, but this way it can just give the config and that will get into a transport. So already this is pretty neat because we can do that and then we can do the HTTP transport. So here we see that we have HTTP transport, gives it transport, and exactly the same thing, the connect, and everything will create that. So that is pretty nice. Now, one thing that we have is we have the send request, and here the way it works with MCP is you have this is based on JSON-RPC, and this crate here has all the types. So I spend a lot of time to make sure that we have all of the types of the MCP protocol. And when it's params, you want to make a request. So here we have clients and request, and then you pass the thing. Now the connect takes a mute because it has to have a mute because that is where we do the initialize and that is the first call. But the send is not mute. Okay? So when it goes back to send, this send request is not mute anymore. Yeah, so this one is a self. Sometimes my best practice when I do that, I do a shadow like this, let client, but here I don't want to confuse people with the example, but let client like that. So this way, this is not mute anymore, and it's the same name. And so I make sure that below it doesn't require mute. And you can see that I've configured my VS Code to have these purple things for mutable. And so this one is go back to blue. But I'm going to leave it like that. The point here is that when I'm going to call these kind of things, what I'm getting back is all the time this loose list source result. So this whole pretty cool mapping here with Rust we can do, where it will map the params of this type and make sure to send the corresponding type over there. And that is done with the Rust way, obviously. So, and the reason why is because in the send request, I have these kind of things with the P. And then these params implement the right, they implement the right trait. And then in the result, I say, hey, you have an MPC response of that type here, which is a rec. So the rec, which is the MPC result over there, is implemented somewhere. Yeah, so if I go, I don't know why I'm going to this rabbit hole here, but if I go to the list to param, I think, yeah, let's go to that. Okay. Okay. Come and click here. We should have import. Yeah, that is a way. You see, this is, I don't want to go too deep in this here because I might do kind of, I think, focus on this one. But this is where the magic happens. What I'm implementing here is into MCP request for call tool params, or for anything here. It's called tools because that's the one stuff. And that is where I have the methods over there, and then I have the type. The MCP result is that type. So now when I have a request, I also know the result because it's a one-to-one. If there's one-to-many, it's like, kind of doomed. But in this case, it's one-to-one. So what I'm doing is every time I'm implementing into MCP request for call tool params, okay? And then this trait, you will see that it has a method and it has a type result. And then it has that as well. So now by just implementing that, I allow to create the right type. So now the typing system of us knows it. And that is kind of magical, yeah, because now whatever here I do a list tool params, I have a list tools. But if I go to that examples, this one I create my call tools params. I have a call tool params. And then here I have a call tool result. So it's super nice, yeah, because now everything is typed. It's not dynamic, yeah? It's just by that. So the compiler knows and everything. So that takes a little bit time of wire, but once you wire it as a library maker, then everybody is super happy because, you know, this is kind of magic. And this is what happened with cool things like Axum and everything. They have other tricks that also I'm using for my RPC router and things. With a little bit of elbow grease on behind the scene, you can make super ergonomic APIs. Now, there's an argument to say, well, you know, it makes the binary bigger and everything. It's yes and no. Yeah, it's always about the net value. So if there's a big methods, a body, and you have too many generic, then yes, it would duplicate. But then you move that in a separate function with concrete type, and then you have the thing. So you have a way to manage it. So my recommendation, if when you build a library, think ergonomic. Ergonomic does matter. And so that is it. So for example, here when we append, I'm not bugging too many, you know, the user to have two string and all of that. I say, hey, anything that do into string, I can take, and anything that does into value, I can take. Now, the reason why, and I'm going there, I don't know why, but the reason why I didn't see serialize there is because when you do import serialize of 30, it will actually create a new value. It's kind of it will create a new one. And I don't want to create a new one because sometimes I just pass the value itself. Yeah? So that's why I'm not, I'm using this one in this case. Okay, so now, not sure if I change that. I shouldn't. Everything is committed. I do a git log here. Everything is good. I have a cargo watch example. So I like cargo watch, even if it's a little bit on maintenance mode. It's actually very simple and works well. You can use Bacon as well. I'm going back and forth, but the simplicity of cargo watch is pretty cool. So I have an alias, a shell function that says cargo watch execute example. So you do cargo watch and then, you know, dash quiet, dash C, dash X and everything. And then here we can do anything we want. So for example, we're going to run this one, which is a client C01 simple. And that will create, that will run this one that we have here. And we're doing the println of all of the tools. So now what is that guy? That guy is the MCP here, which is when you learn how to MCP or create or whatever, you have spec, they have a very good doc, I mean, very good engineers that created MCP, and then they have sample servers. And then one of these sample servers is the everything server. Okay, so if we go back there, we're going to see all of the servers. And then there's one, which is this one. And that is, in a way, is a reference test server, which everybody used to test their thing. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in. Now, what we are going to do, so everything works pretty nicely. Yeah? So we have the call tools here, and we have even the HTTP. So when you do, the way it works, the MCP, it works that way. Okay. So, and then there's a lot of confusion online about those kind of things, but that is the way it works. And this is MCP server. It's a little bit overlay here. But the way it works is you have your MCP host, and that is an application. Okay? Could be a cloud app, a device app, it doesn't matter. It's your host. So when you use cloud desktop, then it's a host. Yeah, it's called an because it's hosting one or more clients. And usually, like, the list of clients is dynamic because you set it up into a config file, and then the client say, oh, okay, I have all these clients that I can use. And then you have your app service component starts there, and then your application talk to database or talk to AI or whatever. There's a confusion sometimes, I see that on LinkedIn here, where people think that the AI is part of the host. And I think people confuse that because often the people that are making the application that implement MCP client, MCP host, is also the one that are doing the models, like Anthropic. They have the things. But the two are completely separated. Yeah? An MCP or a host has nothing to do with the model. It can call a model. It should call a model. It have sampling, so sometimes it's required to call a model. But the model is not inside. Yeah? The model is always outside. Even in cloud desktop, there's no model inside the binary. It always go to the APIs and they talk to their own guys. So that is the way it works. And then it talks to an MCP server. And so you can have multiple MCP clients again. So that can be a dynamic list. And then it talks to an MCP server. The MCP server has basically all of these kind of things, which is tool sampling, prompts, resources, and routes. And so there's a protocol, JSON-RPC, based on that. So the payload is JSON-RPC. And the JSON-RPC is, I don't want to go too deep here, but if I go there, sorry for the zoom in, zoom out, this is a JSON-RPC. JSON in, JSON out. That's it. Very simple. You flag it like this, an ID, which is the ID of the request, and the server always echo back the ID of the thing. So that needs to be unique for your client. And so every time you send a request, make sure that that is unique for you. And then the server will always echo it back. And then that is, so you know if it's a request, if there's params, you know if it's a success, if there's a response success, if there is a result, and you know it's a response error, if there is an error. So that is the way it works. Yeah. So now, if we're going to look at those guys, it's super cool. So now what we're going to do here is we have the MCP clients, and then we can call this via stdio and HTTP transport. Because now the JSON, the payload is JSON-RPC, but the transport can be anything. Can be MQTT, can be, like for me on AI Pack, which is one of the reasons why I'm building Agentic, is I will probably use Lua. I will have my custom transport, which will be probably a Lua or internal transport, because I don't need to go outside. Sometimes my own service might be an MCP server of the own thing. Yeah. So this is super powerful. The way that it's simple, but very powerful. So now we have all of these kind of things here, tools. So that is what we are happening. The reason why there is MCP is because now we have, since 2023 or 4, yes, once we had function calling, we digested the function calling as an industry, we had the third type of users of our app, and that is AI. So until now, we had human. We discover the things, we click or read a book or discover the UI. Then we have the APIs. So someone read the API doc, build something with the API. And so your application could have an API talking to them, like programmatic API. And now we have this other entity, which is an AI, which more or less think like us. And now it can actually, if we were going to give it something that it can introspect, rather to give it UI screenshots here, like the CD demos that we saw in a few months ago, those one went away because when it's CD have a short lifespan. So, and that's why the MCP server and spec is to say, hey, let's have a declarative way of describing to an entity that can reason and understand the services that a service can offer, to this automated entity. So that is what MCP is about. Yeah, such as the AI can say, okay, I understand. And the protocol for all of that is JSON, with JSON schema and everything. So that was function callings, and now we have MCP server. So that is the thing. So we have implemented everything. And in fact, in our things, we have the tools, so we can delete tools, and then, hey, Oxy void, I need to know, yeah, so I think I pronounce it right. So now we have the list of tools, and now we can call tools. Okay, so we can do this one. And don't worry, we're going to go to the samplings. I want to give the context here, because the sampling is going to be where it's going to get interesting. So here I call the tools, and then if you see the code over there, we know the tool there is, and there's two tools, one which is echo, and the argument is message, and you give message. And then the other one is add, and you give those two guys. So that is the way that I've done my APIs, which is quite ergonomic. And then you can send it. But obviously you can have JSON, and if you have the right JSON, you can serialize to this guy, because usually it will be a JSON back. But now we have that. Now, and we have done that for the HTTP protocol, the streamable. Now, there is something in, so if anybody has a question here, we can do that. But there is something, so this is where we see the result, yeah? So we call this guy, and then the tool, the server, the everything server, reply to us to say, hey, you call echo, and this is my text response, okay? So that is part of the spec of the result. And then you say call result, you call me the call tools add. And so here is what is added. There's something interesting here in the MCP is that the result is always text. I mean, it can be text, image, or things, but it's not structured. Okay? So in this case, the sum of 1 and 2.5 is 3.5. So the AI will be able to get that. So that is what. So the input, the course is structured, but not the outbound. Now, there is a very cool thing in MCP, and that is called sampling. What if a tool, to do its jobs, needs to call AI? Yeah, so there's a tool, someone does an MCP server, and then suddenly the MCP server to say, well, you asked me to do that, but I need to have a AI, or you, or whoever, I don't care, to answer that question. And in the format that I want there. So you give me back, such as I can continue the next step. That is called sampling. And this is where it gets very interesting, and that's why I do all these lives in a way with Rust and MCP, because I think Rust, I mean, obviously I'm biased here, but it's probably one of the best language to implement those kind of things, because MCP, when you try to implement it, is get a little bit hairy. Yeah. And one of the reasons is because now with sampling, the protocol support that, the tools is going to make a request to our client. It's going to say, hey, I'm making a JSON-RPC request to you, client, now. Yeah. And you need to give me an MCP response to me. So that is where and again, if you use a library and everything, you don't really feel these kind of things. But here we are building the library for it. And so now what we are is, right now, all our stuff work very well because we send and we expected the response back and we have everything. And actually everything is asynchronous and everything. So I remap the IDs and then I have a one shot and everything. So everything works very nicely. But when we do a sampling, when the tools need to say, hey, I need to ask this question to the AI. And because I do not have access to AI, but you have access to AI, so here's a prompt I want you to ask. Okay, over there. This is different than prompts. Oops, sorry. This is different than prompt. Prompts is about, hey, give me a prompt that I need to send for that kind of structure or whatever. And then the tools will give you a prompt back. Okay. So that is different. For example, you can say, hey, I'm going to give you a list of files and give me the prompts that I need to send to the AI for this list of files, for example. And then the thing will say, okay, deterministically, I look at your files, and here's a big prompt that you need to send, for example. Sampling is different. It's a tool that say, I need the AI to answer something, or you to answer something, I cannot continue. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, the thing here is, right now, the tools, as you can see, and it's pretty cool, is just I send the request, and I get the response back. Okay? Yeah, I can call you X, but it's not the same X, I guess, than the Twitter X. So that, oops, sorry, I got confused here. So that is what we have here. We have the cool params, and then we have these things. And so if we go back there, we get the response. So inside, now, the way that I implemented inside, there is a whole channel kind of things where I implement, such as we can actually, I'm not waiting for the response in the same channel. Because when it's stdio, the transport, and that is the way stdio works, yeah? So it's not like we have a choice. This is actually pretty good. The transport is you have this kind of 3 channels. Yeah? You have std in, std out, std out. So everybody has that, even Windows. And so what I do here is when you want to send something to the server, you do it via std in. When you receive something from the server, you do it from std out. So it's 2 channels. So in fact, what I've done here is I've normalized all of these kind of things, and then I have my communication channel here where that is what I give to the client, and that is what I give to the transport. Okay? So the client will send the request and will get the response from the server, and then the opposite from the transport. So that is the way I have, and I'm using Flume over there. Now, here's a trick, and so feel free to ask questions here, and I don't know if I'm losing people or not, but because this topic is a little bit advanced and very deep in the weeds of MCP in a way. So there's Rust, and then there's MCP. So now in the sampling here, the server everything kind of gave us something pretty cool, which is all the APIs, such as we can test our client, that works if it works well. And then later we'll do a server, and we'll implement the same kind of services, and we need to make sure that everything matches pretty well. So the thing here is that what we want is, what we're doing here is we're creating our client, stdio transport. So for now, we're going to implement this one. It's going to be interesting. And then we connect. So that will send the first initialize command. So that works. And then the trick is the everything server, they have a tool params that is called sample LLM, because we need to test it. So they have a sample LLM. And again, this is mock test in a way. They have a sample LLM tool that you call and you say, here's a prompt. And then the only thing it does, because it's mock, yeah, so it has to be deterministic, obviously. So the only thing it does is that it takes the prompt, so that is the way they've done it. You don't have to have this, obviously, but they take this prompt and they echo it back into a sampling message. Okay? Now, when we send a request, this one, the server will get the request, and this tool, implementation on the server, will say, hey, I need to ask this question. What question? The one we send it, because it's just mock. But since we're not sending it, it doesn't get it. So my client never gets the answer because we didn't answer back the answer. So that, if I were going to do that like this, I will never go after. I will do the before, but I will never do the after. So, and here it works, but I'm going to explain. So what we did is, in this hack, and this one is a hack, but it's a hack that works. So we take a Tokyo spawn, we spawn that, okay? So that goes to his own thread over there, and so that runs. And then we sleep to make sure that what we're going to do after is after that. And then we are going to create a new message. So in my types today, that is already very well supported. We create a new message, result. And so if we go and look at this, I'm going to do the print. We are getting a message back. And so the cool thing is the library works, but we get a message back that say a request from the server. So the server is making us a request now. So here I'm hacking the result. Even if I didn't get it, here I'm going to create a message result, new assistant. I give the sky is red, whatever. I could have done whatever. And then you give the model. So that is the way that works. That get into the agentic MCP type, which is create message result, which is cool. And then I'm creating my MCP response, which is the ID. And here is where it's super ugly because I know when I printed it, and we're going to see that, I know it's 0. So the server, because every time I press save, it's going to restart the server because it's stdio, the first message will be 0. Okay? So it won't be a UUID. In fact, at the beginning, I was like, well, why did they don't do UUID? Well, I think they did it for that, such as we can test a hack test like that, because we assume that the first one is 0. And then we give the message over there. And then we send a response. And because the client, the way I implemented is all message stuff and one doesn't have to wait for the other, everything worked very nicely. And then I sleep here to make sure that I can print. So now we are going to run this one. So I have a cargo watch execute, which is cargo watch things. And then I'm going to do client C04 sampling. And so now that works very nicely because now we have the after, okay, which we wouldn't be able to have it. And then this is what, obviously, the mock thing say, here's a sampling result. Here's what to send me as a sampling result. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Now, the trick here is where what I need to implement now is to say, well, I mean, this obviously it's a hack, yeah, because I didn't get this. So in fact, what is happening is, and it's a little even trickier because if I go there, so I have my trace. So if I enable the trace, I'm going to press save. So I like this save business. I'm going to see that I have a no matching request business. The reason why I have that, and it doesn't break the whole thing, yeah, because what you want when you do event-based, you want to make sure you report it, but you don't break the loop because otherwise nothing works. So it's not this one, I'm going to do a search here. And so in my client, this is where it's pretty cool. I have this run out RX receiver, okay? I get this guy, which is an out receiver. And so that is what I get from the MCP server. And then I do a loop here. And here's a cool thing, yeah? So I'm getting the message, and the transport, the layer on board, is the one that is going to send me the event over there. So he had the transport as a out TX. And the way I've done it is I say, the transport is not in the business of understanding the payload. The transport just say is a string. So here I'm getting a string. And that is that layer that takes the string and make it the right type. Okay. Now I get an MS, so I parse it. I do a first parse, which is a MCP message, but that will do a request, okay, the right type. So I have a custom deserializer, and it will do, but the type of the payload is going to be just value. So we know it's a JSON-RPC, so ID, but then in this case is params. The params will be just value because I want to stage it out. Yeah? So I'm getting that, and then if I cannot parse, I complain. And then after what I do it, and this is very cool, I get the ID here, the RPC ID, which could be a number or whatever. And then if there is an RPC ID, I remove for a queue, and that is a hash map. Okay, so that is a hash map. It's called dash map, and is a super crate. Again, we're super lucky in Rust because we have top stuff. So dash map is this one. And so that is a concurrent crate, concurrent hash map, sorry. And very fast, the guy knows what he's doing much better than I would ever know. So we can use this guy, and that allows us to have this queue. I mean, it's not a queue per se because the name is probably wrong, but it's basically where I put all of the pending requests with it per ID, because that is guaranteed to be the same. And then I need to remap it there. Yeah? So this is what we're doing. So what is happening here is we're taking this, we are removing it because we don't want to keep it there, otherwise we'll have a memory leak. And then what I put there, when the request is made, I put a one shot. Okay? So now I can do a one shot, and then I can send this MCP message. And that will go back to where there's this one shot, and then it will do the work. Okay, so that is the way it's working. And then if there is error here, I kind of handle it. So hopefully kind of that makes sense here, the thing. So that is, now the nice things about this is because again, everything works nicely. So where it got the error is here. So I'm going to show it there. It's very cool. We're going to do that. Receive MCP response. But here is not RPC response, actually. I'm going to see, yeah? So I'm going to do one piece. So that is my my Rust 10x VS Code extension. You can find it. And then I'm going to do MCP message. Sorry. This MCP message is this guy, but I want to not do it too ugly. So I'm going to do something like pretty. Okay, pretty. Hey, Learning Rust, happy to have you back. So we're continuing. I'm focusing this one of implementing the thing at the end of yesterday, you know, the sampling. So we're fixing this one now. Yeah. So I spent quite a bit of time of recapping some time. I don't know if I should do that or not, but anybody give me feedback of what I could make better. I'm always open-minded. So I'm not always open-minded, but on that one, I'm open-minded. So now I want a pretty, because I don't want to, if I do a debug, it's going to be hard to do the things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like that and like that, okay? And what I'm going to do is let pretty and CRD JSON. I'm going to implement an extension trait to do the pretty, such as we can do a dot of anything that is serialized X. I like to prefix them with X_2 pretty, such as we don't have to do this threaded dance all the time. And then it will be, there's something I think is pretty like that. Yeah, too pretty. We're going to give the value here, MCP message. And then I'm going to do unwrap. So I never use unwrap. I do unwrap underscore or else. And I'm going to say, and I do or else because it's to not allocate a new string, but it's debug anyway. So cannot serialize. And I don't really care. Okay, so like that, I always have, that is a toString. And that really starts annoying me to do that all the time. So I might have my little X2 too pretty very soon. In fact, we might have that. And Otis and you sus. What does that mean? I'm not sure. What does that mean? What does this guy mean? I'm not sure. It's my side here. I don't know what that means. Okay, so now we have the pretty. Now we print the pretty. And now we're going, okay, I press save, and then we're going to see all of these guys. Okay, this one is normal. The one is normal. So we got the result. Remember, we did a request here, and that is a result that comes from the initialize. Okay, so that is the initialize request that come back and say, hey, here it is, and server info and everything. Okay, all of that good. Then that is, and here it is, yeah. That is not, here I am in my response. Look at my bug, yeah. I'm saying receiving RPC response. I was like, no, yeah. That is not RPC response. Look at this guy. It's RPC, and then it's a request. Because now we have these things which is bidirectional. Yeah? So the thing here now that we need to do is we need to, you both work, yeah, on sampling, yes. And so for the one that was not, they were Otis yesterday, and it's great because it gave me stuff. I was confused for many reasons with the whole sampling. And the sampling, they have a weird wording, which is kind of off. But with Otis here, we figured out very, very nicely, and that is what we're doing today. So here's a bug, yeah? I mean, it's a cool bug because, in fact, the whole thing is working well. It's asynchronous. I don't wait for one for the other. I map it dynamically in a way, yeah. So, but this one, the reason why you complain is to say, well, I'm removing, but, there's no ID there, which is normal because it's not even a request. Okay? So the thing here is, that is where the first thing that we need to do is to say, well, when I'm getting that, this is not a response. Okay? This guy is not a response, it's a request. So, and again, this is live coding here, so I'm like showing the thing. So what I want to do here is to say, how do I do the, interesting. How do I do the implementation of that in a correct way? Because what I don't want is I don't want to go to this path, which is a path for a response. So that is a path of the response. And it's not the path of a request. So what I need to do is, if there is an RPC ID, so no print for now, this is probably notification. That might be a notification. Okay. So now the thing I'm saying is to say, in this library over there, what we want to do is to say, this is a request and it's not a response. So the cool thing is we know that because the MCP message, we've done already the work, is having this guy. So in fact, I've already done the heavy lifting to have that. So the right way is, I'm thinking, to do a match. And then at some point, we probably need to put those kind of things in functions, because it's going to go way higher. So I'm going to do a match on MCP message. And then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have, so if it's a request, well, I'm going to fill the arm like that. And I'm going to say, if it's a request, I'm going to say, I'm thinking right now. Okay, perfect. I'm going to say warn MCP request in response in what is it, in RX not supported yet. And then this guy, I'm going to do that as well. Caution. And then this guy, I'm going that I'm not sure. I should support it here, but we're going to say that. And then the response, that is a thing. So I'm going to do, usually I like to have process. MCP response. Okay. And I will give that, which is the MCP response. Sorry. So that is what I will do. So everything is not going to compile very well, at least in formats. I'm missing this guy. Now, that is a guy that I want to do. So I'm going to take, what I do is I close it over there. I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to take those. Okay. So now I'm going to take this. And I'm going to create a function. So the way I typically do is that I have this kind of support function stuff. And then I'm going to say, how do I call it? Process MCP response. And do I have any async await? No. So I'm going to keep it that way. Okay, so it's going to be just that, and I'm going to do a process fn process, and I'm going to miss some stuff, MCP response. Okay, and MCP res response, and that right now it will return result of void. Now it will return nothing for now, and then we'll see later. Press save. That should complain. That's fair. So now my question in my head is, so this guy is there. That works nicely. Oh, I don't have the ID anymore. But I do want the ID. That's fair enough. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is go back there. And so I don't have the ID yet because this one takes the MCP response. The MCP response it does have the ID. What am I doing? Oh, interesting. I think there is a reason why I didn't call it. So MCP res. Interesting. Yeah, here we know that we have an ID, so this match here is not even needed. Interesting. So this is not needed anymore. That's not needed. Shouldn't have done that. Okay, good. So now we have the let RPC ID, and I'm going to do that ID. And in the RPC ID, I use the RPC ID of RPC router. I can clone it very quickly. And then later we might avoid the clone. So now we have these guys, so I'm fine. I can do that. That will actually do exactly the same thing. And now I have the res queue. Okay, so my res queue here, my result queue, it's in fact my request queue in a way. It's for the response. And so this is a dash map. So I'm going to call it there. And that will be a dash map. I think like that. But I think I need to do a type, yeah? Okay, I go back up there. So I need to look at what is this dash map business. Okay. So now I don't want to carry that everywhere. So I'm going to do a type over there. Type res queue. Okay. That would be good. And I'm going to use that there. And eventually I might have my own type, concrete type. But now I go back. I broke everything, but that's fine. My rescue map. So the cool thing here is fine. So why does he complain? He complained because I think I need to do, hopefully it's because of that. Yeah. Right. So probably I don't even need that. Okay. So we're going to do a reference like that. Okay. That works. The MPC message now, one shot MCP message. I'm not going to be brave on this one. So that means that this guy here, this one shot, that is mine, okay? And then this guy requires the send T, and then T, and then it requires the, what the name? No. But here I'm too low. Oh, here I'm using the one shot from things, but I think this one shot. Oh, I'll go and see the type here. Sorry about that. And the type that I have is one shot res. And one shot res is here. Sorry, it's expect MCP message. So I'm not going to be brave into this guy. I'm going to go back there, up on this guy, and I'm going to say, I should have an into if I were smart. I don't. So that's not cool, but that's relatively easy. It is easy, I think. So we're going to use, so there's one thing that I like a lot. Let me check that to make sure that there's no earthquake. Oh, there's some people on team. To answer that. Okay. So now what we have is we have that. So there's a cool thing here that we can do is we can do a from like that. And that is derive more from. I'm the biggest fan of derive more. Okay. And it is a tool here, which is cool. And so now I should be able to do a from. And that will remove me the boilerplate. That works nicely because they have all of that. I think you can put from at the top, but I don't like it. I like to put it explicit. And so now if I go back, I'm sorry for the scrolling here. I need to find a better way of not scrolling that much. So now if I go back to my client implementation, I guess, that should work, yeah? No? Okay. MCP message, MCP response. Yeah, it works. Okay, okay. No, it doesn't? Why it doesn't work? That's weird. Okay, so we're going to do it by hand. I thought I had it. So let MCP message, and we're going to put the MCP message there. So that's weird that it doesn't work. MCP response. Okay. Ah, okay. Yes, that's fine. I'm going to do a clone. I'm going to be ugly right now. Clone, but this one is clone friendly. MCP, MCP. Oh, I think that is why he was complaining then. So I should be able to do that. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then always MCP message, always to string. This is this might be my pretty. Is it my pretty stuff? Oh no, that is just one line. So that's not the pretty. I could do a util like that, I guess. So to do a strike extension. And then this one, I think I can take MCP res like that. Yeah, because it's a different branch. I'm going to remove the inlay, sorry. That is pretty nice. That is nice. We have the little thing over there because we didn't give the res queue. Now, can we give a reference of res queue? Because we don't want. Yeah, it works because it's inner mutability. So that works nicely. And then we go back there. And then we are going to get into process response. And we're going to do the queue over there. Res queue. Okay, this guy complained. What does he complain? Cannot find process map response. Okay, probably a silly spelling mistake. And then that's good. And now that is the duplicate one. So it's going to complain. And so I'm going to remove that. Okay. Well, I'm going to do a new line because sometimes it doesn't. We didn't fix the problem, but we are like prepped to fixing it. So now we're making sure that we're not breaking anything. And we didn't break anything. Now we don't see the error because we should see the warning business. Yeah, warning. MCP is not supported yet. It's working very nicely. That is pretty cool. So now that we have that, we have a thing over there. So this is pretty nicely. And then what we're going to do is now we have, so what I would do is do something like that. Control C, git log to know where I am. Git C. Usually I don't do the tilde in my branches, but here we're putting them because the crate is early and I want to put some checkpoints. So I'm going to say prep sampling, prep to fix the sampling flow. Okay, so that is what we're going to do right now. And then what we're going to do, that is pretty cool. We are now going to say if it's an MS result. So I'm going to do a cargo test. I shouldn't have done the commit before the cargo test. Okay, everything goes fine. We don't have much tests, but it's good. And I'm going to do a cargo run -- example. And I'm going to do the client CO2 call to, just to make sure that we didn't break anything. Yeah? Everything is working very nicely. So now what we want to do, and then again, this thing is a little bit, well, in the weeds here. So the ones that are following, pretty brave. The thing that we want to do now is we want to take this request that we have. So match message, and we want to support that. So the way I will do that is I will do something like that. I put the // because I want it, otherwise it will collapse it all the time. So this way I'm sure is a block. And now I'm thinking about it. So what I want here is to say if what comes back is a message, I want to say, so we can print it nicely here. Can we do a pretty print? Do we have a pretty print somewhere here? Here, I don't care about printing it here anymore. I care about putting it in my stuff. Okay, and this is going to be this guy. And now, if I go back to my cargo watch, oh no, I've lost it, my cargo watch. Oh, that's the one I had yesterday for the test. That is my sampling, so that's perfect. I run that guy, and now I should have somewhere this one, which is a sampling crate. So what we're going to do here, because we're in the client, so in the client, we're going to assume, and it's a fair assumption, I think, that it's always client create message. You know, it's this one. This is what we're going to assume. My question is, do I need to assume that or not? So the question here is, we get that, And how do I get it back into the top part? That is the question here. So we're getting this, and we're going to have to make another communication thing, I think, because that is, so this is the thing I'm sending to the client. This is the thing I'm sending to the transport. So now my client is going to get the in, so that is the request I'm going to send it, and it's going to get the out, which is going to be the output of the thing. So that works nice, yeah, because we have, so we don't want to change that. I think what we need to do is we need to add something that it can get. Because in the APIs, I don't know if I'm going to do it live or not, but in the API, we don't want to do that. Yes, what we want to do is something like that. I don't want to make it too bad, but we want to do it the other way around. What we want to do is have something like, what would be a good, the right way will be to do something like that. Yeah, will be to do a client register. Yeah. Client register sampling handler. This is what we want, in a way. So there's two ways of doing it, and perhaps it's been a long one here. So what we want is to be able to, again, to send a request like we did, this one, but we don't want to do that in a Tokyo sync. Yeah? We just want to send a request. And if it needs to have some sampling, which is if the tools need to call, to say, hey, can you send that to the AI or come back to the client? We want to do that in an asynchronous way, transparent to that. So this is where we want to have thing here, and then this guy, and this one I might not do it live because every time you do async stuff like that, you are for a little ride. And this has to be async because you are doing a HTTP request. So you always want to do a async when you do HTTP request. And so that will be my function here will be, I think right now we can do async closure, I guess now, with some limitations. So the problem here is I need to look at the stuff, but there will be some async there, and that might be the MCP sampling request. Yeah, we're getting there. And I think I have the type. Yeah. So, no. Oh, no, MCP request. And that would be a MCP sampling. I think I have a sampling message. Perhaps that is this guy. I don't remember. No, it's not this guy. I have another one. Sampling. Sampling message. No, I have another one. And this was a thing called. And the one with model preferences. Yeah, model preferences. Yeah, it's this guy. Okay, who is using that? this guy, create message param. My God. This is this guy. It's confusing because we get the message sampling, which is the answer, and we get the other one, which is the create message. So that's why the sampling stuff is tricky, and it's very cool in a way in Rust, yeah, because our client, yeah, so that is a way that the MCP, yeah, our client here, we talk to the server to call tools, but the tools decide, hey, I need to sample something. So now he make a request to us, and us, we become the server of the server. And then this guy becomes a client for this interaction. So this is why, you know, be aware. So we need to stay aware, like Jean-Claude will say. So the thing I'm saying is, on this one, this is the way I'm working. Yes, I'm sharing the way, you know, I never know if I should do more of those or not, but this is the way I'm thinking a little bit live. It's to say, how do I want the client to do? I do not want them to span something. I mean, this is a hack, obviously. I want them to answer that. This should be the signature, yeah? So the signature of this async needs to be, it will return, here it won't compile, yeah, but it will return a result of, so this one is a request of this guy, and that will return a return of MCP response of, and this is a trick. Is going to be and that is our sampling message, I think. I think it will be something like that. Will it be? Yeah. I think. Yeah. That is the way that we want it to be. So I don't know if we are going to implement it down, because this one is going to be a little bit a heavy one. But this is what I'm thinking about. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to say, can I do a type? Type sampling handler fn. Okay, and then I do that. Okay, let me, I'm lazy here. So, give me a sec. So what I do often without any shame, in Rust, can you fix that? There's something I miss. It's a silly syntax stuff. So, I'm going to assume that he didn't go crazy stuff. Okay, MCP, I do that. MCP, I do that. And then that's it. So I think that is what we want to do. But we want that to be async. This is what we need to do. And so one of the things is doing like that, and that is a simpler one. So obviously it's not implemented, yeah? Register sampling handler, and then we'll have something that will be the function that I was talking about above, okay? And then, yeah, this will be something like that. Now, this one, I don't know if I want to do it live here. But this is tricky. So that will need to be an async, but that is one way. So one way here, the cool thing about that, and this will be probably has to be mute. Yeah, so that will be before the thing. And you register your sampling handler. And the goal, I'm telling the story in my head all the time. I always do that. And I say, well, the register sampling handler will take that function, will run that function, will give the MCP request of the create message param. Yeah. And it doesn't even have to do that. I'm sorry, because it shouldn't care about the ID. It's not in the business of the ID. So just get the params. That's perfect. So that is the way I will do. Sample request, MCP create params. So that is what it will get. And its goal will be, doesn't even have to return response. It will return the sampling message. And then the handler will put everything back together. That's the way we want to do it. Yeah. So every time when I think about architecture, is every part of the system should be smart at one thing and dumb at everything else. So this part of the system is there's no value for anybody to goof around with RPC ID or whatever. Yeah, it's, you get the params and you get the thing, and then the params do the rest. Yeah. So I think I will do that like that. And I'm not sure if people are getting, it's getting a little bit long and stuff here. I might unlist this one. So sometime, so feel free to bookmark these guys. I will keep this one long. When there's one like that, you know, we did some good work, but we didn't like start to end kind of things. I might unlist them to not, you know, have confused people here. And then when we're making good progress and we close something, I'm keeping them public until the extended date. So this one will have the extended date anyway. Yes, I'm going to keep it there, but have it bookmark the link. Yeah. Because this one is going to take a little while to do it right. 12:07. So now I'm actually asking myself if I should do that, and I could even use AI for that. Because I haven't been using AI. I've been hand-holding quite a bit, but this one is a nice one. It could do the thing. The async closure is cool, but I don't remember the specific. There's still a few things that they haven't implemented, like for the trait to get the response or something like that. And then it kind of breaks the whole thing. And then we have to do the old way anyway. So this is one thing that we need to do. In my GenAI, we have, actually I can look at GenAI because I did. So that is my GenAI crate. We have done the handlers for the resolvers for the auth, and we have async, I think, somewhere, no? Or the auth resolver here, I'm sorry. And then we have the async over there. And that is the thing. So I think I might do something like that. So we have to do this whole thing, unfortunately. We had a PR that we're going to simplify it with the async stuff now that we have async FN. But the async FN doesn't have, you cannot specify the result, the output or something like that. And so then we kind of got back to this one. So I think one thing is we are going to need to do something like this where I'm going to have a trait like that. This is what I'm going to do. If you have any questions, feel free to ask anything. So that is pretty cool. But we're going to have a pattern like that. This is a pattern. And then this one, there's quite a bit here because, and I'm just going to do the async. I'm not going to have both. This one has both, but I don't need both. we just do the async. And then there's a lot of things here to make sure that the closure works well and all these kind of things. So there's a into and then into stuff and it goes on and on. But then it works very nicely. So perhaps let me try. Let me try that. What about, I don't know if it's 12 or not. I might try that. Now that I have it. I will be alone, I will do that. So I'm going to behave like if I were alone. So I will do this. I will take that guy. I've done already the homework on that in many ways. So I'm going to take that from my GenAI. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do client. That is a client business. It's not something things. And I'm going to say sampling handler. Okay. And then I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to replace auth resolver by sampling handler. Okay, press save. It's not going to do anything because we didn't do it there. Mod sampling handler. Okay. Now we go there. Actually, now it might get interesting. So there's up and down. Now, obviously, we don't need those guys. So what we're saying is, what do we say here? So let me do that. Oh, this is interesting. Let's do that. I don't know if people are still awake or not, but I'm going to give a shot here. And then I might do another live if it's needed, but let's give it a shot. So we want a one that does this. We're not going to implement it, but it will be cool. And I like usually when I do this stream to like at least do something. So I would love to be able to do that one. So create message params here. So that is what we say, create message params. And then, so that is that, okay? And then what it returns, what we decided is we return the sampling message. I think it's this one. If it's something else, we'll change it. But I think that is the thing. We don't need option. Then we're going to, oh, so far so good. We do the pin. And then the result will be use create MCP result. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, obviously, everybody is going to complain over there, but we're starting to make progress here. So I'm going slowly. This is where I could have AI helping here, but I'm going to make arc. I'm going to do, so what I will do here, because it's something I haven't done, I'm not very happy with JKeys, is to make my environment keys and go back to my AI pack over there and go to coder prompt. I'm going to, on my structure globe, give everything. This is what I typically do. I do star, star, and then I'm going to say lib and mod. Okay, so that is the way I configure. So that is AI pack, and I have the concept of parametric prompts, and that allows me to do the thing. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put that, shift, put it there, sampling handler, and structure globe, I give the structure globes. This guy, model aliases, I have the mapping on top. I have write pro and pro 10x over there. This is just for fun. And then that's it. Okay, so now I'm going to say something like that. So first I always do git c, git add, git c, sampling, this sampling. Okay. And now that we have that, I'm going to say, and the reason why I do this is because I like Google Pro, that is 2.5. The reason why I do that is when I have AI in the loop, then stuff, I've been coding a lot without it, and the problem is then after you don't want to jump into it. So I'm not using Cursor, use whatever you want. I like my AI pack, and then I have a pro coder, and I have my best practices, and this is a prompt. So it can work with any AI. I'm using GenAI, and eventually that will also support MCP tools. So now that we have this, I'm going to like go there, and I'm going to say, so I should git log or git status to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And I say, in the file stuff, I have started to implement. And usually I put that as the first file over there. And I started to implement, I'm going to be super lazy. Up, take this. Implement this. Can you make sure that the rest of the file match this type? It was from another project. Okay. Boom, that AI pack run pro at coder. Do for it. I'm lazy. So we'll see what it goes. Stuff. So if you have any question, feel free to ask here. This was a pretty deep session here. So we did a thing, I think like a lot of people, it's always long, this session, but it's stuff that I will need to code anyway. Yeah. So that is a cool thing. So again, the thing for the new one that we're calling here, that we're doing is we're implementing that of the sampling. So we go through MCP Client. This is the Agentic crate that we're done. We have the tools, we have probably everything because all the types are implemented. But sometimes you call tools and the sampling is say, hey, I need information from the client. And so the client becomes a server. So what we want now is we know that the client is going to get some request from the server about, can you sample that? And sample that means I'm giving you a prompt with some information about the AI, the model, and everything. Go and run it with your AI and then come back to me. And so that is the way it works. And so to implement that is, so I'm trying to do it in a super ergonomic way. So the goal here is going to have something like that, where you have your client at the beginning and you register your sampling handler. And your sampling handler just do that. Okay? Now, the result of that is going to be another one. So that is an important point. Yeah. I don't want, because now this is on the user side, the user of the crate. So they shouldn't really create my errors business. They're cool, it's public, but that will be probably like an error specific to this one. And usually I have either the error or I have a specific error that is specific to that call. So it will be a sampling result, sampling error, probably something like that, or client sampling or something like that. So now it's done. So if we go there, how much did it cost? 0.5 cents. This token, this guy, 40 seconds, give me the things, but everything else, I put it in the file. Yeah, so you see what it and the rest, I put it in the file. So I go there. So usually I click on this guy. I make sure that it didn't change my stuff on the top. Oh, wow. That's nice. AI is smart. And then it did. I'm not sure it's going to. It doesn't compile everything, but I make sure that it didn't change that. And then the rest is just change the type and other things. So I think it did a relatively decent job. So I'm going to go back to the file now. Press save on this guy. Oh, look at that. Compiles. Guys, use AI. So anyway, so that's cool. I didn't have to fish and everything. So this is actually pretty cool now. And this takes time. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I'm not like, this took some iteration time of knowing what to send there, and the plus static and everything, which you think is static, but it's not. It's the fact that, there's a whole little story there. So I think now that we have this, oh, that would be funny. So I'm not going to implement it now, but I want to implement. It would be cool if we could do that. Okay, this would be super cool. So sampling handler, this is stuff. And then we want to implement that guy, okay? And so to implement that guy, I'm going to go back there. So this is a whole little dance here. So eventually I'm going to put that in my Rust 10x best practices, such as I can ask and say, hey, I want an async function and everything following this pattern, and then boom, it will give it to us. So this is my goal with AI Pack and the Procoder, because this one is always super tedious to do it. And it's going to get easier when they have the whole async FN. They already have async FN. We're almost there, but there's a little thing, as I was saying before, that is not there yet, which is the output business generic. And so then you hit a wall, and then you have to go back to the old way, that way. But bottom line is, now I think the thing that I need to do is something like that. I'm thinking, yeah, that's cool. So now we go back to our client, and we're going, so the people that stay here, if we do this is going to be pretty cool. And again, all the source here, I'm going to commit. Usually I don't commit partial thing, but it doesn't break. And so like this, you can check it and stuff. And then we're going to do many more of those guys. So this is the constructor. So one thing I like a lot with Rust is I have this code folding business. I like code folding a lot. And then because we can implement multiple implementation blocks like this at no cost, I organize them by topics in a way, okay? So I'm going to have one here, which is the communication, the privates, and then that is still public. So I'm going to have it above, and I'm going to say handlers. And there's only one, but okay. And implementation, client. And then I'm going to have this one, which is going to be a pub. FN. It's not going to be async because we are just registering the beast, yeah? And then we are doing, what are we doing then? Register, sampling, handler, and sampling handler, that guy. Implement that. Okay? And that will return nothing because it cannot really fail at this point because it will not run it. I'm going to do that to make sure that we have the stuff. Okay. Here we're going to do nothing. Yet. Okay, and now, and I think that would be a good milestone for that session at least. I go back there, and I'm saying register handler, sampling handler. Oh, why it doesn't? Why it doesn't? That might be an error of VS Code. So I go there. Why it doesn't recognize it? Oh yeah, fair enough. It's me. It's always me. It's never Rust. So that would be a self. And honestly, that will need to be a mute self. Yeah, because we are going to, not now because we do to do, but we're going to have to store the thing there. So I want to make sure that I do the thing there. So I'm going to have to do that before. That was my little best practices that I like. So like this is mute, and then I put it in a non-mute. So I see stuff. So I'm going to do this. This is, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Need that and that today. Yeah, today, sampler. Today, this is where it's getting, there's no perfect languages. So this is this guy. Yeah. We want this guy. So this is a crate MCP. I don't like that. We're going to change that later because again, I don't want the user of the lib to create the error, the main error of the lib. It's upside down. So we will eventually have these things here, which is kind of a sampling result and sampling error or something like that. And so that might become in its own submodule somewhere. And then we flat it out, obviously. But the point is that in this level, because we're an example, remember, result is boxed in business. So here we want to make sure that it's crate MCP result. It's exception. Agentic. It would have been too good. Why didn't like it? Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is because the async FN is not fully supported. So async FN works. If you can use it, it's great. Use it. There's something that is missing, which is the async FN : output, which we're using for the result and have the generic on the outside here. So if you don't have a generic there, which do we? I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. Otherwise, it's not. Yeah, so it might be a case where we could use it or not. So I think this one is more closure. And here I'm going to say, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I have no shame. I go back to here and I say, can you make that, can you fix this? And there are no. So I think it still thinks that there is no async closure, but so here I'm playing the fact that it's probably out of sync. It's not a no sync closure. I'm just lazy. Oh, I don't need that. I understand why you did that, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to go to my GenAI. I have the examples over there, and hopefully in example, I have the auth. And I'm going to pray that there is the async. No. didn't have the async. Okay, that's fine. So I need to do the thing here. It says closure, what it is. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to be lazy for now, async fn. So I'm not going to do the closure way, hear me out. But then after I will do it, it's just because my brain is not working. So app sampling handler, and then I'm going to take that. And then I just want to see if the type passes. And then if type passes, and then if the type passes, we are in a good shape. So then there's still a lot of to implement then, yeah, because my client transport now needs to listen these request guys, and then it needs to call them and everything. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do everything live. If you want, please add comments and stuff. I'm more than happy to do things live. I just, don't want to frustrate, users by long sessions. So I don't know how to balance stuff out. But tell me, always helpful. And so now, why this one is not working? That should be working, yeah? Yeah. Trying to avoid here to do that. So I had another crate, which is very cool, RPC router. So this one is much more super advanced because I do the RPC router. So that is where I have a lot of handlers. So this one is, so that is the RPC router. We're going to use that. This is awesome. I mean, I'm going back to it. I'm doing the 0.2 right now. And this will allow us to map, in fact, to map an RPC call to a thing. So when we're going to do the server, we're going to use that because this way, again, when we do the server, so right now the Agentic MCP crate allows us to do that. Now, here we're like hitting the fact that even that we need to be server. But then we're going to do that. To do that, to implement tools, we need to route. Then, yeah, we get the request and we need to route it into the different things. This is what I've done with the RPC router, which is awesome because I'm using it in my Rust 10x web server stuff that I have, the crate. And I'm using it in my private, I'm sorry, I need to do public, but the code is not clean enough, Tori app, where I even use JSON-RPC because I've been using a JSON-RPC for 10 years or 8 years or whatever. So it goes to, I use the IPC, either JSON-RPC or Tori handlers or Axum handlers, and then it goes back to an RPC router. such as I can just register my things very nicely and I don't have to deal with all these kind of things. Because that is one of the things in Rust, like when you want to do async, is like, oh, you have all these kind of things. Yeah. So I might do that offline because I'm going to continue to do that. I might do this one offline because this one is tedious. It's kind of a little bit frustrating. And AI kind of help, but not, and then you get into these things. So right now it's complaining because I don't want, this is as much as I want the user from a complexity standpoint. So that is the ergonomic. I don't want to start telling them you have to do a box pin and all of this there. Yeah, so that's my hope, yeah, to avoid that. This is what I've done here. If you go to the RPC router stuff, if you go to examples, it's very neat. Yes, you have a function like that. Yeah, and it's actually even your error. Yeah. What is the error here? Trying to find the result. Yeah. So that is your error. I cannot be boxed in, yeah, because then after it goes crazy. But this is whatever your error is, and then you get your function async like that, and then you are just it's beautiful. And I've done a video like a year ago, whatever, about function calling. It was super powerful. And that's what JSON-RPC is. So this is things that I've done like two years ago. Yeah. So it's really the same thing. Yeah. So JSON, and in fact, Agentic is using RPC ID of this guy because I have the right parsers and everything. And then I do a router RPC request like that. So I can route on the RPC request because I have my handlers. And in my handlers, I give, so I have a macro, and then I give my handlers. Super powerful. And then that is a state. So I need to go back there and in a way I could use RPC router that would be fair for the create task, for the sampling, because we're going to use RPC router anyway. And that is a pain to create. And that is created now. But the trick here is I want to, and every time, yeah, I spend hours, and then I forget about it, and then you have to go back. This thing is always tedious. But this guy does everything. But this one does even much more than what we need because you have dynamic. I do like Axon, yeah. So I inject. You can ask what you want, and then you can put the stuff as resources, and then it will inject it automatically. So this one is a little bit on the, and you don't need the macros, you can register manually. So there's something here I don't like about this. And so I need to go and do some homework offline here because this one here is register handler. I do the into things. I have this into guy here, which knows has to go, to the box din and all of this, because then after it's dynamic dispatch. And then here is where I have the blanket implementation. So this is what's happening when you use Axum or stuff. Yeah, you use a blanket implementation for any function that have create param. Oh. Well, no, but that is a way, yeah, that you have to do it. So there's something missing somewhere, and it's always a tricky one. So I don't want to do that, to bug people doing that. This is not a fun part. And it's not like, if you have like a core language developers, they're cool. But this stuff sometimes gets kind of tricky and then after it makes sense, yeah, but what you put here and what you put there and how it applies to what and everything, it's a whole dance. The thing here I'm disappointed is it feels that we're not too far. Yeah, so if I were, I don't think that that will make any difference. If I put that there, it should not make any difference. I'm going to give another try here. So I'm going to go to my GenAI, run auth, and I'm going to have a register resolver. So if I go to my resolver, auth resolver, so that is where I have my stuff. So that is my auth resolver. So that is GenAI. So in GenAI, you can provide your own auth resolver, and you can provide actually the other guy as well. And I've done the same thing. So we don't need both, yeah. But in this crate, I support both. Yeah, you can give the thing. So from resolver, do I have that? Okay, so I'm going to have to go back to the client application. So here I am in GenAI. Okay, so that is another one. But if I do resolver, maybe the config resolver. Yeah, I put it in the config auth resolver. Okay. That is with auth resolver. So I go to my example with auth resolver. Okay, I don't have the boxed in. From, oh, that's cool. I think we're getting there. Yeah. Yeah, it's never. I have this thing here, which is from resolver fn. So if I go to my agentic here, I should have a from. Oh, okay, so that might be what I'm missing over there. Implement auth resolver. Oh, okay, I'm missing this guy. That's fair. Okay, cool. We're going to get there. So I'm sorry, anybody here. It's longer, but it's when I get stuck with something, I can't get out. So sampling handler. So what we have done here is, this is what I was missing. So what we have done is we have done the trait over there. So we've done the trait sampling handler async fn with all of the boxed in and everything. The reason why I do this crazy stuff is such as it's a blanket implementation for any function that implement this with a whole boxed in and everything. And again, for the new one that comes here, when you do an async, there's now async fn, which is cool, but the async fn : output is not implemented yet. So often you go there and then boom, you hit a wall. And then you have to go back to the old way. So obviously, as soon as they are going to be implemented, I'm going to change all these guys and I'm going to say use the latest compiler, yeah, because that will hopefully simplifies all these kind of things. And so in a way, we don't have to become expert in all of this because hopefully that will become history. And so the point here is I have this async FN, which is the core trait. And I have this thing, this is a convenient one to be able to box, to clone the box and everything, such as we don't have to do by hand. Now, the thing I'm going to change back to my GenAI crate here. So I have two crate here, so hopefully it's not too confusing. And then on this guy, I have the auth resolver below. Yeah, the async. So that is what we have implemented. What we haven't implemented is this. In this case, I support both. I don't want to support both. Okay. I'm okay to support only one. So we're going to support only the sampling guy. And so we're going to only support this guy, yeah, which is what we have. Oh, look at that. Implement into, oh, I might have this. I'm going to get there slowly but surely. Because here I have the enum because we need the, I have both, yeah, but here's perhaps. So if, can I do this, something like that? No, that wouldn't work. That would be too good, yeah. So into async auth resolver. So if I go to my sampling, into sampling handler. Why didn't show me that? Okay, cool. We're getting closer. So now I should see that. The reason why do no method has found and stuff. The reason why I didn't find the method here. So I'm going to assume that this guy takes that. But the point here is that we're going to do it like this. So like this, we're going to split here. So, okay, we'll go low by low. So we have our handler guy here, this guy, okay, which is the agentic MCP resource. So we thought we typed it correct. We had the right type. In my sampling handler, I have this trait that implement this guy into sampling handler. Okay. Well, I have straight, and then I'm implementing it for this guy, and then I'm implementing it, and then I'm doing a blanket implementation, sorry. So I'm doing a blanket implementation of that to all. So this one is a self thing, but I'm implementing this one to all of the functions that have this kind of thing. Okay. That is the way it is. And then I'm implementing that. So now the trick here is why, and the result here is my crate result, correct? Yes. Which is what I have there too. So now the reason why is why when I do this, it doesn't find it. It's telling me no method. And there's no method because could it be because that simple silly mistake that we didn't I'm going to try to do that. So I might have to solve that offline. Oh, you know what? Sampling mode. I'm going, Oh, look at that. Pub, use. This is not a handpick, so I might get lazy here. Sampling, handler. Okay, so I think perhaps we didn't put a trait. Yeah, so hopefully, little by little, we're going to do a reload. Sometime it needs to reload the thing to show. No. So somehow, going to sampling error. Okay, I'm going to have to look at this one. I don't understand. So I'm exporting that. So I should be able to see that crate from MCP. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to that. Why I cannot do that? That's interesting. That's fair. It's here. That's good. That's better. That's good. Okay. And then we're going to import this one. It should have shown me, so I'm not very optimistic on this one. To the trait here. Honestly, I put everything. I see what is going to stick. Put those two guys. Now I'm going to go there. No. So somehow this handler for whatever, oh, is it that guy? Hopefully it's not that. Sometime when you're like, no, it's not. Okay, good. Sometime when you have a to-do, in some cases, I don't know if they solve it or not. It doesn't work somehow. But this is not it. So, to keep that like that. There's something I don't get somewhere. Create params stuff. Oh, no. Yeah, I don't want to bug people too long here. There's something. Trait. If I go back to my guys over there, I have into async resolver, box done async fn. So that should map that one. Hey, Pigeon. Yeah, I'm deep in the weeds. Not nice weeds. Deep in the weeds. Don't like my weeds when I'm into things, and then I can have data. Yeah, there's something here that I need to. It might be relatively simple. So somehow, so here's the thing. At least I can try to see. The thing here that is not working is I have the handler, which is the app sampling handler, which is the one that is going to, it's my function that can get a thing to sample the errors. I think I'm respecting the function where I should have a blanket implementation over there. So fn this guy, and then it's return the boxed in or all this crazy stuff. That sampling message, create message params, sampling message, and both it's agentic feature. And so the thing I don't understand is why I don't see why do I have to? Oh yeah, it's into sampling. Yeah, I need to do this one. I need to fix this one. So I will probably fix that offline here because I'm might be. So hopefully I will fix it. So I'm going to try to fix it offline. If you see a commit that does that, this will be it. Because right now, and every time I say offline, then I go back to it, but I don't understand what I'm missing. I'm missing something silly. So the problem right now is, again, we had this, I thought I manage the stuff. So that means that I will have assumed that we will have a blanket implementation for this trait, which we put in the context here. Okay, so this one is there. So that's good. We have everything, yeah. And so then after it's like, why I don't have this? Why it tells me that? This method sampling exists, FN, but it's trait bounds when not severe. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to try something here. We're going to take all of this, okay? We're going to go back there. That's my coder prompt business. We say, I have the sampling handler, and I'm going to give the client implementation. I have done the, yes, Amar, very, very good one. Yes. Yes. Yes, they are the same. Yeah. This is a very good thing. It's that usually when that kind of things happen, is that often is because the result is not the same. But I make sure that the result is the same. So if I command click on this guy, I go there, MCP error, okay? So that is the result alias over there. And then if I go to this guy, this is where I make sure that I'm using not my boxed-in error over there, but this error. So if I click here, I go to the same file, correct? Yeah, so this is a very good one to check. I go here, and I click on my sampling, same file. Yeah, this is a good one, because that is, you can spend hours. There's something I feel very frustrating. Sometimes this stuff, the async, I can't wait that the whole async stuff, they don't have the async : output yet. And so we're stuck there. I'm not even sure if it works. So I've done the sampling, the file sampling handler. to take async function, and then in the client, and then in the client imp error.rs, in the client C04 sampling.rs, I get this error. We'll see. Does AI is going to be helping. And here's a way. And here is, I can stop this guy. And what I'm going to do here, the reason why is git log. I'm going to do a git c. I'm going to do a question, something like that, marker, not compile, YI. Okay, I will squash it, but when I run AI, I always have a thing here. Usually what I should do here, now that I am in a la-la land, not in a cool land, I will do a branch, okay? But it's too late. So now we're going to do that. And I'm going to go back to my AI pack, click run, we'll go, and I can change, it's what I call a parametric prompt, so I can change to Claude or whatever. And if I really didn't want it to write, I could say write mode false. Okay. And this AI pack business is one thing here that I have. AIpack.ai, you can install it. You have a documentation, you can build your custom stuff. And this one is my pro coder that you can install. This is what we're going to do. So again, the problem we're trying to find out here, and it's going to be cool. Yeah, this session was a little bit work in progress. I'm trying to have this register sampling handler, such as when you start a client, you register your sample handler, and then you can make your request, and then that will run async. Yeah, so here we spawn a thing and stuff. It's going to be cool. But for that, I need to allow to register it. And so I just want, for this example, I just wanted to tell me. So it shouldn't have changed any file, which is good. I've done that, so show me. So it kind of explains the things, 45 cents. Here's a token, I give the reasoning, stuff, doesn't really matter. Here's a breakdown. As error message or content especially indicate a mismatch between the staff function, yes, and the into, that's correct. The breakdown here, straight expectation, blanket, that's correct. This means that your function is staff work, that's correct. Async, and this is why I love about AI pack. I mean, the way I've done with AI pack, I don't like to work in chats, on web browser chat or whatever. I like command line is just like the minimum replay, and then it's file business, and then I am in a file thing. So the trait expectation, that's true. This means that your function handler, function must be callable. Implement, clone. Yeah, okay. When you define an async FN like that, okay, this function does not return. But I don't understand because it works in my other guys. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here. So the way that the procoder works, and that again is my approach stuff, is okay, I've done that, but the client, I get this error. You gave me the following answer. There's something weird. And this kind of stuff is probably not good for life. There's something here which, so that is what we're saying. Yeah? What it's saying is a thing. The thing I don't understand is that with my GenAI, the hot resolver, I can pass. Well, the async actually, it might be a pain actually. Because I don't know if I have an async here. Do I have an async example? No, I don't have an async. I should have an async because this one I might. Do we have? Yeah, I'm not sure. Because here is a sync again. So perhaps with the async, we have this box doing crazy stuff. Might be the case. But for the RPC router, there's something. For closure is always a pain sometimes, but often when you do a function, sometimes there's type aliasing. It's not aliasing, coalescing and stuff that helps a lot. And so that is what I was hoping. So it's still thinking the guy. So what he's saying here is the box, but I do need the box in. Okay. I will take that offline. I have a couple of things. There's another crate where I've done this crazy work, which is a RPC router. And it took me a while to find it, and it's very powerful. But it's even more complicated because I have all these kind of things, and we're going to use it in Agentic Crate. But I can't really take that guy because this guy is a crazy guy. Because this guy has his own, has a lot of generic. But then it allows you to do the thing in a very nice way. So I don't know. Go back to the Agentic. Oh, it kind of solved the thing. So what did he do? Sampling handler. We remove that. I don't trust it, but you know, we'll see. He added that. Oh, wow. Might be smarter. I don't know. I'm not going to, I'm going to press save. And now this guy doesn't compile. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Now I am in the La La Land. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about his stuff. Copilot, I mean, I don't know if you guys managed to use Copilot, but Copilot is good for me. It's been working for fixing Okay, it's fine. Fix using Copilot. Trusted. Did you try to build it? Because sometime, yeah. Yes. Arma, you know what you're talking about. Yes, you're right. So sometimes what I do is I do a reload. So sometimes what I do is I do a reload. So let me close this. I'm going to try to do your thing here. And the crate over there, I'm going to remove the clocks button. And then I have another guy here. Well, I don't know. Okay, obviously we don't want that, yeah, but okay. I'm going to try that, yeah. Yeah, that's compile. So the problem here, honestly, so this is the difference between vibe coding and the way I use coding. I want to use as much AI as I can. I have no hard feeling with AI. Never did something bad to me. I love it as much as I can love anybody that helped me. So that is a no issue. Is not there's no proud or not here. The thing that it came up with might be smarter than what I have in the other crate. I don't know because it's working very well in the other crate, but it might be good there. I don't know. But I need to check it because there's a lot of things here and stuff. So I'm like in a so-so kind of thing. Yeah. So in fact, here I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here because I'm mixed on this one. So git branch A -A, and I'm going to look at the branch. I'm going to do a git branch D XP sampling. This one was the one before. I want to delete it. I don't need it anymore. And then the main here, this one will become SC, which is switch crate. It's my alias, XP sampling. So now this is going to be my new sampling guy. And now I'm going to, no, actually, sorry. Git S main, I go back to main, get branch D XP sampling, git C AI, so sampling AI experiment on, and he had this stuff here, which is a gen stuff, generic FN adapter. Okay. And that is things. Now, the thing I don't like about this, I'm using for. So I like to do the command line as much as possible, but then when it gets fancy, I don't need to become an expert at VS Code. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to do, what I want to do is I want to, so now what I'm doing, I'm going to do a git branch checkout. Okay, I don't know how to do the git sc xp sampling. So now that I want to do my sampling, git s main, Now I'm back on main, and then I'm going to rebase main over what we had yesterday, okay? This is where I'm going to rebase it. And it's fine to put it there because I didn't push it, so I didn't bug anybody. I'm going to go back there and do a hard. And so my main is there, and my XP sampling is there. So I didn't start with sampling. I started on main. I started to be very cocky and optimistic and stuff. And then I was like, well, you know, actually, life is not as simple as I wanted. So now I'm back there, and now I'm back at sampling. So now things are getting pretty tight. So one thing here that I like a lot about what you were saying is git log. And we had this one which didn't compile. We're going to validate that was not a thing. So I'm going to go back. So I'm going to do git. So that's the way I do it. It's not a best practice at all here. Git sc tmp. And then I go back to my fork here that I like. And then I'm going to rebase. This is what I do, but there's many ways of doing the same thing. We set TMP to here. I do a hard. Make sure that you always have a branch that holds the other guy. And now, if I press save, that should compile here. So this is not, yeah, because otherwise, sometimes when it gets confused, is that it. We're going to do cargo build. When you get, well, oh, you were right, somehow. What? Wow, that's scary, then. No. Oh, no. But cargo build, no, it's not fair. Because if I do cargo build example, yeah, because it's the example that doesn't work. That is a bug of fork here. That has been for a while. Sampling. And then kaboom. Yeah. So that is that. So that's why I think so. VS Code was good on this one. Usually, you're right. Sometimes it doesn't get the thing, and so what I do is I do a reload window. Yeah, so when you have things weird, doing a reload window or cargo build is a good one. So now I'm going to git sxp sampling, git branch d tmp. Okay, so now we are on this guy. I'm going to close the step. The only way here is to close that guy. And then I'm going to, it's late every time I say I'm stopping, and then I never stop. I make like 2 long streams in a way. But that's the way I code. So the thing I'm saying is to say, this is actually pretty good if it works. The thing I don't like, honestly, so I use coder, I give all my error, and here's the things with, I call it coder, yeah, because it's pro at coder. But the cool thing here is we can use any model we want. We can turn the model off. And here in the context, the only 2 files he has is this is all the lim and the mods, because that gives a lot of context, it's nice. And then the cargo 2ml. And then only this file. Oh, interesting. So how did he get the examples? Oh, he didn't even get the example. So I forgot to put the example here. So I didn't even give the examples, but he managed to file the compile time, I guess. Yeah. So that was pretty impressive. And oh yeah, okay, I had enough context with the context he gave me, I guess. Okay, that's fine. So that's why he managed to do a relatively good job. So basically what he created, so let's see what he created because it might be good actually. Okay, so sampling stuff, that is my function. So I want to trait here, trait that takes a create params and return crazy async stuff. And again, I cannot use async FN yet because it's awesome they have it, but they don't have the colon output, which we need for generic. They will have it. So as soon as they have it, I have no nostalgia at all. So here I use result, I use my crate. I'm not happy about using this one. We'll have a specific one for that because otherwise the user will have to create our main error, which doesn't make sense. They should create an error for the sampling in a way. Which could have custom. You just can have a custom thing. And then we have plus sense. So this is the thing I've learned. Then, so that is the thing it didn't add somehow. I had it before, so I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. And then, and the reason why sometimes you do that, you know, this one looks silly because you say, well, if it's clone, why do you do that? Is because in Rust, you have this coalescing business that sometimes simplifies things. And so when you have clone box, you can use without getting crazy too much in types. I don't know if we need it. Apparently, it's fine. But when you go to a closure business, it's a different thing. So that's why. So then the formatter here, we don't care. The clone, it's already implementing clone, so that's fine. Then the generic FN adapter, so that is, I don't know why you rename it, might have a reason, I don't know. But that is what it's doing. Oh, interesting. For the ones that are still here from the beginning, this is pretty cool. Yeah, before I think I had, if I go, I think there's a, is a way. Before, I had this pinbox business. Yeah, that was my thing before. And so I had this pinbox and things. And now it had this new way here. Yeah, this is where sometimes it gets tricky. And then it has this phantom data here, which that might be the smart way. So anyway, this thing is pretty advanced. I would say you can become an expert of that. That is a big rabbit hole you can go. If you are Rust, if you are one of the guys that develop Rust, obviously this kind of things, you will have everything in your head. If you haven't done, you know, like really like bottom up, like Rust, not compiler, but runtime or whatever we want to call it, wrapping your head around all these kind of things could be quite of a ride. So pretty familiar with Rust, this stuff can get kind of touchy. And then you can become an expert, but it's like, do you want to spend time there or a little bit higher level? Moreover, hopefully that this year they will simplify that. And so that will become a little bit simpler. And then we remove the box here, the clone. Could have that, I guess. I don't know. I might add that later. I don't know. And then the FX stuff. And that is where you had the pigs bin. So I'm going to say, you know what? It knows better. I'm not expert at all of that. So it's I'm going to keep a marker on that. I'm not really sure why I had this generic big guy, but it did solve my problem. So here we're doing so here we have a struct. I think the magic is that guy. Yeah, I think that is a magic, is one of the magic here. This is phantom data, so it's not used, but it kind of has a type holding it. And so, you know, I think it might be okay. I might actually put that back on main. So now we go back to this guy, and we're going to see what we need or what we don't need. Do we need that trait? We don't need it. Do we need that trait? That trait? We do need it, yeah, which is normal. Because that is the one that implements the into, and that is what we're using over there. Yeah, this into sampling handler. Now the question is, if I go back on this function and I do an import into this guy, so I go back there and I say, can we? And if it's not possible, it's not too bad. Okay, that's pretty cool. So we don't need that. And now, because I'm passing the thing there, and this function is the one that has the import into, and this one is part of the thing, otherwise it would compile error, I should be able to go back there. And you can do both ways, obviously, but now if I press save, it should compile. Boom, compile. Yeah? Because here, if we call it from here, it has to do the things otherwise. So actually, I like that a lot. Now, I do think, and this is what we've seen when we did the async handler for the thing, if you want to do it as a closure here, you have to like return the box. It's possible, but it's super ugly because you have to return the box pin and everything, and you have to explicitly say the type. So usually the way you will do these kind of things for async is you will do it in a method like that. That means that you cannot really capture things. Yeah. So that is not good either. So we're going to have to make sure to say, hey, if I wanted to, and every time I want to stop, every time I never stop. So now I say if, so that is cool, but it's limiting, yeah, because it means that I cannot pass any context to this beast, yeah, to this guy. So my recommendation is always a two-step approach. One is you could do the closure business. Oh, let's do that actually. I'm going to do that. Okay. Here's the thing. So git log, and I'm going to do a fork. So I'm going to be optimistic here. I don't need to be mean with AI, so to gain some points here. So I'm going to squash with the parents. Oh, okay. Git log, git amend. And so I'm going to squash with the parents now. Okay. I'm going to reward those guys. Prep to the sampling stuff. That is a good enough commit. Okay. So now I have that fresh commit. Thanks. I will probably merge that to master, to main. And then I'm going to give that file to my coder. Okay. So I'm giving to my examples. And now it is. Because I could try to learn and be stuff, but there's no shame in using AI at all. Yeah, okay. I don't need it. I don't care. I can delete the whole thing. And then I say, in kind of stuff, can you show how we can have the client register, but with async. Okay, and I don't say async closure because I don't even think he knows async closure. And we cannot have async closure yet. I'm going back there. Here I use Gemini 2.5. I don't know how many people are still there from the beginning. A little bit long, this session. I'm still kind of planning them. The problem is sometimes when I get into something like that, if I don't have all the answer in the head, so sometimes there will be things that I will be sharper in a way because I had the design. This async stuff is always a little ride anyway. And so you want to make it ergonomic. And the way I like it is get the pain a little bit on the library front, such as it's simpler on the user side. So we're going to do the stuff. Yeah, tuning out. Yeah, that's good. I'm still here. And then it's like, so the thing, Jacques Joubert coming in and out. This session today is more kind of walking and stuff. I need to find a way to label them and things. So this one might be unlisted because I don't want to bug too many of the public with long sessions that are not, that are more like work in progress and stuff. And then the one that are pretty good, I will keep them. So this one is going to be unlisted until the date I've said here, until June 15 or whatever. Well, yeah, you did stuff, but breaks. Nope. Oh, that is 2 calls here. That's not too bad. Okay, what did he do? No, he didn't do what I wanted. He didn't do what at all. So this is why it's important to have AI like this. Git restore dot. And then it says, didn't do at all what I was asking. In the client sampling here, can you show how we can have a closure that does exactly same thing, a closure for register that just do that just return syntax. Yeah. So I think it kind of messed up a little bit. And the reason why is I think to do the closure, and I'm not going to save, so then I might have to close it and restart it, is if we were going to do something like that, so we cannot use the async closure because we're not doing it the async closure way. So the thing will do an app. So we know that we're going to do that. And then, what was it? Async is async, yeah? It's something async move. Is it that? Okay, you know what? Now look at this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to parallelize. Oh, did I press R? I didn't press R before. Oh, did I press R? Oh, no. It did the thing then. Okay, now I'm confused. Does it compile? Compiles. That's pretty simple. Well, I'm going to keep it this way, guys. So like this, you can see. But that's much simpler than what I thought. I thought that we would have to do the boxed in and all this crazy stuff there. Well, That's pretty cool. So now what I want, tell myself stop, is I'm going to get, so I have the client. This is pretty cool. Git log, git amend. So I didn't push it yet, yeah? So now what I want to do is to say, well, at least, then I stop. I go back there in my client. And what I want to do when we implemented, remember we did the register here? And then with to do, which is obviously doesn't do anything. What I want is do the let sampling, and I'm going to do that and into, and I should have the into sampling order stuff, correct? Arcbox, blah, 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 and all of that. Yes? Yeah. Now, we're not out of the wood yet, yeah, because here, we're not out of the wood. Here, we're not capturing anybody. So everybody's happy right now because we're just an FN here. It's simple. Once we're going to capture things is going to start to cry, but we go step by step. So now we have this, and that will be an arcbox static and stuff. Yeah. And I have a mute self. I'm going to press save. I'm going to do stuff, and then I'm going to do this, and then to say store sampling handler in client. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Then, yes, go back there. Guy is warm right now. I like him. And then I'm going to do the client implementation. Just that. The cool thing here, the reason why it's so cheap, because again, with the pro coder and the AI pack business, I have full control of the thing. Vibe coders will get so seasick with that, yeah, because for them it's all about prompt, yeah. Here it's all about control. It's two different approach. So either you put the pain early or you put the pain later. And it's like the doctor, yeah. Usually when you put the thing, or the dentist, yeah, you put a little bit in front to have less later. So the thing I'm saying is, now we're going to do that, and I'm going to say, in the client in parentheses, can you store the hey, if I mispronounce your name, don't worry, I mispronounce everybody's name. So my kids and wife are the only one lucky in a way. But for my kids, I chose very simple names. So the thing I'm saying is client implementation. So now I want it. So I want to know, because you see, the reason why I don't do it by hand, why do I don't do it by hand? No, it might be, actually I'm going to do by hand because I want to brainstorm about it. So I can put it in the inner or the start. The inner is already created, so I'm going to put it there. Okay, because this one is already a thing, so I'm going to put it there. It's ugly, huh? No, okay, I'm going to put it like that. I'm going to make an option. It's not super elegant, but we'll deal with that later. So hopefully things won't complain. Yes, it's, I don't know. And so somehow here, sampling handler. So now there's going to be things that complain, which is normal. Sampling known. Now it doesn't complain. And now for the register, we're going to do sampling self, sampling for some sampling. Doesn't complain. So far, so good. So far, so good. I'm sorry, I'm not stopping again. Now that we have that, well, we can get pub fn. This one will be async. Exec sampling handler. Yeah, why not? Self, we don't need and we don't want the guy. We're going to take the ownership of that guy. Okay. So create message parents. Okay. And then that will return a result. So that will always be a result. Yeah. That will be our result. So it's fine. Our result of the crate will do the result of the other guy. And that, well, actually, what we can say, yeah, MCP request of that. Okay, because we're going to take the MCP request of this guy. It's fine, yeah? And then we're going to return the MCP response of sampling. That's a sampling message. I think it's this one. Yeah, because that will be the function that will do the work, yeah? And so I'm going to do that. Okay, and I'm going to do air. I don't do a to-do because I don't want to be kaboom, yeah? So this way, you know, the thing, and I'm going to do an air. It's going to be an error. Or I can do an air. Client staff not implemented. And I do the into. Like this, I can have the question mark. And it doesn't like that. And oh, see. So that's it. Yeah. So to do fix me. Okay. This is going to be the last thing here. And then I do the create param, and I'm going to say print. I say, yeah. I like to end the session, even if it's 3-hour session, with some print. And then we're going to do this one. And we're just going to do the, no, this is not the request. rec.id. Okay. That should print 0. And now, we didn't need our AI, no hard feeling. And now what we're going to do is We have that. Yeah. Almost. I just want this, and then I did the break. Anyway, I have a meeting at 3 and then a meeting at 7, so I'm done for the day. So I just want to complete this guy. But if this print were the best, and now is what we're going to do, and it's not going to be perfect. We have the client, the transport into client transport. We don't care. We were on the client implementation. Remember, we had the run out. Remember, this is where we have the run out. So if we do the run out, so this is the thing that comes back to us. I'm going to have to, I'm thinking about changing a little bit the names to make them a little bit more transport independent. So it might be S2C, like server to client, C to S, underscore rec, underscore staff, underscore TX, and so on, such as we have an idea of, what is what. And I might do that offline because it's, so remember, we get the message over there. So this, what is that? We receive, we get the message, and then we have these things. And what we say to say, well, when we have a request, we say that's not supported. We're going to put actually our little response top to see what we support first. That is better. And now we're going to do not temp implementation. So nothing should be breaking right now. So if I do a cargo watch execute, example, client C04, sampling. By the way, for anybody here, if you want to watch it later, bookmark it. I'm not going to put this one public at the end because it was a little bit long, the stuff. I mean, it was good work, but sometimes I like when things are a little bit more. So usually I put the thing public when they are going to be, when they are more dense in a way in things. But this one, we made some good progress. I mean, for me, this was good. So nothing broke. That's good. We get this guy, which is this print here that we have. So if I do this, I should see that to make sure that that is this guy. And then what I'm going to do is I am in the client things. Is not where I will do it, I think, because I will do another queue. So I don't want to do it here because I don't want it to block this queue. Okay. So here's where when I get the stuff, and so I don't want it to block it here on doing another request. That would be very bad design. Okay. Temp implementation, final imp will not block send to sampling queue. Okay, so we'll have a sampling queue in the final implementation, but I don't want to do it now because this was already long. So we'll have another thing that when you wake up, when you start the thing, it will start a sampling queue, and then everything that goes to request sampling, it will do the work. And we know that we have only one. Yeah. And it's very similar to how we're going to implement the server again, because again, the things that we have here is we have a symmetry where because sampling goes there, and so in a way we are starting to implement, sampling goes there. So in a way we are starting to implement server stuff on the client stuff, which is good. It's going to be good work, yeah. But we're not actually doing the full router and stuff. So we're going to continue to print the pretty over there. And now what I want is the MCP request is the MCP request, and that is a value. So I'm going to do, we're going to do what? We're going to do MCP let sampling request, okay? And so what we want now, and so that we want to have MCP because we have that. Yeah, we already have that somewhere because this is send the one shot. And so when we do, so look at that, it's pretty cool. When we do the request, connect, I think the communication is here, send request, send request, send request. So we send the request row, we get the MCP message. Yeah, that is what we do. MCP message. And then we try into response. Okay, we do not have the try into request. That is one thing that we do not have. Okay. So what I'm going to do as a hack for now, but to make sure that things work, I'm going to go back there. We're going to do the params here. And that is going to be our MCP request dot params. This is an optional value. And we are going to say let sum, again, like let sum, else, continue. Okay. Like right now, we're going to be very stuff, and then we're going to do a let okay. And we're going to have a sampling request params, which is going to be a CRD JSON. Again, here we're like really, things should get into the types, yeah? And that is one of the things is when we're going to implement the server things, the server will know, we are going to have to implement this kind of dispatcher, like when it take a JSON to be able to get the right type. Yeah, so that is one thing that from the request, yeah. So from the response, when we do a request, when we get back the response, it was easy because we got the original type. So everybody's happy. But when you are getting a JSON for a request, you don't have a type that you had before. So we're going to have a function that will look at all of this and map all of the request names that we have. Yeah. That we don't have any other way to do that, but then the colors will be abstracted from that. So that will be nice. So set a JSON, and then I think I say from value, we're going to do a MCP. We're going to do a sampling. No, we're going to do a create, params, yeah, this is guy. We are going to send the reference of these values that we have there. Okay, and else we should trace it here, but we're going to do that. And so we're going to do something like that. This is pretty cool. Complaints over there, enough. Oh yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the from value is consuming, that's good. And then once we have that, we should be happy. And we're going to do a request, a self, execute, yeah, sampling Yeah, that's fair enough. So now we're getting there. So we're going to do a let. We need to build back the type thing. So that again, we'll have convenience things, but we need to build back. And I don't want to build everything right now because otherwise it's going to be but we want to build back the request now. So we have the ID, and that should be, we should still have it. Shouldn't complain too much about this one. That should be this one. And then we should have the params. And now that is a type one, which is this guy. Okay. So we have these things. It doesn't like it, which is normal. And then I'm going to have, what are we going to do? Oh, yeah, sorry. Let's create MCP request. We don't. Oh, the method as well. Yeah, this is good. I'm getting confused, I guess. Method, MCP, request, method. Sampling params, okay, that's fair enough. This is this guy. MCP request, P, option of P, okay, makes sense. Oh, sorry. Okay, so now this is cool. Now, honestly, I don't like this, but I do need to. I do need, because no matter what, someone needs to remember what was the key. So I'm rebuilding it. So I'm typing it here. I'm taking the value, which is good. You have to do it. Yeah? You have two stages. Yeah? You type it, get back, and you say, hey, send the handler. And now we are doing the await. And that should be yeah. Now this one complain, and the reason why is because why is complaining? Oh, that's scary. That's complaint because self-escape body, that's fair. That's fair. And that's why we shouldn't do it here. That's why we need a queue. Yeah. So that is the thing, yeah. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do it. No, I have to go now. So here it makes sense. So again, like some people get it wrong with Rust. Yeah. Sometimes they say, oh, the compiler, I have to work around. And no, you don't have to work around. That was silly. Yeah? This is not a workaround thing. I shouldn't be able to call self here because this guy is going to run out. It might run longer than self. Yeah. So that's why we have the queue business, because when the queue business work, when you have the channel, I mean, it's designed such as if one end is fine, you get an error on the other end. So that's part of the design. And that's why it's a great way of doing it. So here is, we shouldn't do a self. Here, what we will do, so I'm going to keep that. I'm going to comment that. I want to comment something, but to do, and that will be something like, it will be something like, yeah, we're going to do that. Sampling tx.send and that. Okay, that is what we want. So that means that when I'm going, I was going to almost do it, but otherwise it will be a whole day things. But here, when I hit this, what I will do is say, okay, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to go to client. I'm going to show you what I will do. Yeah, I will go to client, and when I do the connect, because that is a connect where the whole thing kind of starts in a way. And the connect makes the thing start. And I won't put that there, but I will have, run out, run stuff. I will do a self run sampling. Rx. That is really hard-coded to one request. Later, if the spec evolve and say, hey, there's multiple requests now coming from MCP server, I will say server rec. In fact, I might do that more than anything else, such as, And so when I create, all of these guys today, yeah, I need to create that pair, TX, RX business, such as I have a queue here that goes here. I will have the server rec RX. So that is the request that comes. This guy is more stdio, so these things. But the one that is important is these two guys, yeah. So that is what comes. I need to rename those guys. Is a server. This one is the S2C request. Yeah, this is the right way of doing it. So that is a server to client request, and that is a server to client response RS. That is a way. So that is a server to client request. So the server is sending to the client, and I get the request. So I receive it. I need to treat it. And that is the server to client response. So I get the server to client response, and I need to do it. Yeah. Now I could, change stuff, but so I don't know the naming yet. But this one is the one I will do. And so I will I will copy paste this guy. I will create another queue. And then what I need is I will do, when I create the pair here, the new T-Rex pair, you see this one, that is the one where I create. So I use Flume, you can use whatever. And I always use string, but in these guys, I'm going to use MPC message probably, or something like that, yeah? I will use MPC message. So I won't have to do the typing there. The typing will be done at work, which I like it, because this way, this run is dumber in a way. And so what it will do is it will send, I will have another pair like that, and I will give one to the transport. No, actually, the two will be for the client, I think. Yeah, two will be for the client, I think. And so then this way, we'll do the stuff. So that is the way it works. Now, the nice things about this architecture here and with message passing is when you do that, as we have seen, even if sampling, I didn't plan for it, the thing didn't hang. The thing that hang was my API, but all the messages was coming through asynchronously. This is pretty simple. So anyway, this was a long one here. I'm going to put it unlisted because this one, is probably too long for and not enough prints in a way. But I think we did a pretty good job. We'll look at the AI pack and everything, and it's things that I will have done anyway. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. While I'm doing that, I'm going to commit here. And I'm going to make sure that I don't have the print anymore, those guys. So I don't want that. So we're not going to do that. And then we're not going to do that. Okay. Have a good one, Jack. And then Jacques. I don't need to Americanize it. Okay, so now we have this, and then this, git log. Store sampling. And then git s main, git merge XP sampling. So again, usually, thank you a lot, git merge XP sampling is going to become, right now we are way in the weeds, and so it's not sexy in a way, these lives. I mean, it will never be sexy with me, but my point is the work is not sexy. And then, but it's going to become, it's going to be super cool. Because once we have these kind of things running and starting implementing MCP server for that, and the way it's going to be short with Rust, because the ergonomic of the API is awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is awesome stuff. Yeah. And so once we have that, we can do super cool stuff. So anyway, and then that's it. I push it, git log. You have it there. You can play with it. Don't do pull requests yet, because right now I'm still more kind of on the design phase. Because right now, for example, the thing I'm asking myself, and I don't have the answer, I can do a one-off, and I might do that kind of, but one-off for the sampling request. But at the end of the day, a lot of work that needs to be done to handle the sampling request on the client side of things will be work that will also need to be done when we are going to enable this same crate to do server RPC routing. Yeah. So one of my things is to say, well, right now, we did, and that might be throw away, yeah, but we did all this work here with the sampling business and the async function and everything, which is very tailored in a way. But we're going to use RPC router later for everything else, because that has been working very well. So perhaps I will use RPC router for this one as well. Yeah. But I think at the beginning, at least on the client side, I think I will make this flow work, and such as we have a relatively good client that people can start to play with. Okay, with that, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining. That was a long session. It's pretty amazing that people come and go. I really like it. And yes, unlisted, make sure you bookmark it. You can find it on my Twitter anyway, and then you can find it there. And I'm going to keep that quite a bit a while. And there's a series which was pretty good about the HTTP, the transport. So this one was pretty action-packed kind of things. Those guys, I'm going to leave them as well until next week, June, whatever. Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody. And until next one, happy coding.